So it was half price time again on the Hero Collector website, which meant that I could fill in one of my missing pieces, and on this occasion it was the USS Enterprise NCC-1701-B, as seen in the Generations film, of course, and indeed that was the only time we have ever seen it. And of course this is incredibly similar to the Excelsior model that I have, but this is actually a special issue model from Eaglemoss, and this of course is a slightly retooled Excelsior model in reality, because they wanted to reuse the Excelsior model, but obviously they didn't want it to look exactly like the Excelsior. So as a result, this is a slight deviation from the standard Excelsior model, but it is nevertheless an Excelsior class ship. It just happens to bear the name Enterprise. So let's have a look at it. I've already taken out one sheet of the heavy duty polystyrene that comes packed in, just to speed things up slightly. So here she is, and I will do another video, I think, comparing this with the actual Excelsior that I've got elsewhere. But here she is. Now, without actually comparing her alongside the Excelsior model, I wouldn't like to say whether or not I can capture all her differences, but the most obvious one, I think, is this area right at the front near the navigational deflector, this edge here. So all this sort of extra fairing is basically a piece that they bolted on to the front of the standard Excelsior. You've got to watch that as well. That's really heavy at the front because it's metal, of course. But you can see there that the navigational deflector is really set a long way back because of that extra fairing, and of course that is where the Nexus ribbon smashed into the side of the Enterprise here and took out a chunk of the ship. So of course, to avoid damaging the original Excelsior model, they had to make sure that this one had a little bit more leeway in it. But essentially that is the classic. I see, even looking at that, I'm thinking that these are different. I don't think the original Excelsior had these great big impulse engines on the back there, so I think those might be bolted on as well. And I can't say I've ever noticed that being a difference with the Enterprise version of the Excelsior. I'm even looking at the nacelles. I wonder if the nacelles are slightly different to the back here. They've got some nice detailing on, because they've got the I think they've got the registry there. I don't know if you can make that out with this camera. But I think they've got the Enterprise's registry there, right on the back tip of the nacelles, which is quite a nice touch. As with the previous one, there's a lot of hull detailing there. I think you can see that, can't you? Which is always nice on these models. I mean, I think I'm not as picky as some on these models, because they probably know the ships somewhat better than I do in terms of full-on technical specs and so on. But you feel that, and it's a really, really good weight. The nacelles are plastic and slightly transparent. I don't know if you can quite sort of see that, but they are slightly transparent. And I've noticed that on some of the models, that some have quite solid nacelles, whereas others use this transparent blue plastic, which I think is often used where they are sort of glowing nacelles in the series rather than just sort of static nacelles. So I have to admit, I was hesitant buying this one, because although it was half price, it is effectively an Excelsior. But actually, now that I've got it, I'm not upset, because I do actually think there's enough different about it, even without comparing it side by side, that it does kind of justify forking out to get it to sort of complete my XL range of Enterprises. I'm still missing an NX-01, and I can't for the life of me get a D, which means that I've got an A, a nothing, and a C, and then I have a B, but I'm missing a D, and I'm missing the NX. But I am that one step closer now to completing the selection that I was after, as sort of a history of the Enterprises going through. But I'm not going as far as Discovery because I don't see Discovery as being my Star Trek. That might sound a bit pompous, but it simply isn't, because it's not what I would consider to be in my own personal timeline of Trek, which is kind of classic Trek, I suppose. And for the same reason, I'm not bothering getting the Kelvin timeline ships either. I can't get on with the Kelvin Enterprise. I don't know. It looks too much like a hot rod to me, I think. So these guys are more my taste, more my sort of historical thing. I'm getting there, but it's just a question of them coming back in stock and me then being able to line them up with an offer being on, because I got this for 25 quid off retail, and it lines up really nicely when you can do that, because then you get your postage free as well if you're getting it direct from Eaglemoss. So if you buy two, you're saving yourself 50 quid and the postage. So that appeals to my my frugal nature, even though obviously that they're not exactly cheap to start with when you're collecting them en masse. But it is what it is, I guess. If you want to build up the collection, you've got to be prepared to pay for it. So there you have it. That is the somewhat modified Excelsior. I'll just pop it on the stand for you, which I've in a Blue Peter style have done before. And there she is on her stand. So yeah, it's another really nice one. I remember having I don't know if you had these when you were little, but Ertl brought out a range of die-cast ships, and for some reason they had lots of Excelsiors were available in my local toy shop, not so many Enterprises. So I had at least two of these, just the standard Excelsiors in very, very pure white die-cast form, and that was 30 odd years ago. So I do have a certain history with the Excelsior class, and of course it's been around in the show for donkey's years. Kept going right through Deep Space Nine even. I can't remember if it was in the Showdown. I don't know if it did ever appear in Voyager actually. Actually, it didn't appear in Voyager, thinking about it, when they had that flashback with Tuvok, because that was actually to the Excelsior. So yeah, I guess it's probably appeared in most of the current generation of, or the then current generation of shows. So yeah, good ship. Right, I've got one more I think I'm going to show you tonight, and then I'm going to do some more hopefully this week, all things being equal. Cheers for now.